Hello and welcome to Vergecast, the flagship podcast of The Princess Bride, where we go deep on the history and lore of the cult classic for children. I know all the words.
We will never top being the flagship podcast with The Princess Bride. This is the best thing we could possibly do. It's all downhill from here.
When I read the book as a child, the conceit of the book is that it's a book about the book. Mm-hmm. And I did not understand that for years.
Like, who's this kid who's sleeping? Like, what's the deal?
Well, no, there's the kid who's sleeping, but then there's the book itself is about the process of like writing a book.
Right. It's very meta for a child. It's a lot to do.
And I was like, well, I saw this movie, which I love, and I'm going to read the book that it's based on. And I was like, where is the book? And I was like 25 years old, and I finally understood that there's no book. The person who does not understand that is Elon Musk. Hard transition. This is the only thing we're going to say about Elon Musk. David promised me that we would say nothing about Elon Musk. By the way, hi, I'm Neil. I'm your friend. David Pierce is here in the studio.
Yeah, we're in person. This is very exciting.
Crans is not.
No, we kicked Crans out.
The three of us have never been in the same place at the same time. Crans on vacation. We're going to miss Crans, but Addie Robertson's here.
Hi. And
later on, Richard Lawler is going to join us.
Yeah, not in the studio. I don't know who's where anywhere. Everybody is rectangles on screens. It's very weird to like see people in person now.
You know, you have Twitter friends, or you used to. Did anybody ever have Zoom friends?
Yeah. I mean, I had Zoom colleagues. I worked for a company for a long time and never met any of them in person. Really? It was so bizarre.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But no, you don't like make a friend on Zoom.
Oof,
how do you make a friend on Zoom?
I know it's weird that you can make a friend on Twitter, but
you just Zoom
You're on Twitter all the time. You're talking to them.
on Zoom. You're like, I got to get off this call.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the one Elon thing, and then we can move past it.
Yeah.
So Elon gave an interview on CNBC talking to David Faber, who's a great reporter. Actually, I think he did a good job of this interview.
He's a hard guy to interview.
Because he kept lobbing what appeared to be softballs and then letting Elon talk. As somebody who interviews a lot of people, like I was watching the technique and I thought it was very good. There's one moment in this interview where he's like, should you tweet so much? You're hurting your companies. And Elon responds, and I must say this, I know every word of this movie by heart, by misquoting The Princess Bride.
Badly.
Let's just play the clip.
Do your tweets hurt the company? Are there Tesla owners who say, I don't agree with his political position because, and I know it because he shares so much of it?
You know, I'm reminded of...
He thought about it for so long.
Yeah, a long time.
Wow.
There's a scene in The Princess Bride. Great movie.
Great movie.
And he's right about that.
Where he confronts the person who killed his father. And he says...
6 fingers.
He's going to do the voice right now.
Offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
Arnold Schwarzenegger as in what?
So you just don't care. You want to share what you have to say.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Okay, so a few notes here. One, if your moral philosophy is based on the movie The Princess Bride, you should be able to recall it faster than 25 minutes.
Yes.
Two, you should be able to quote the movie accurately. Look, can we just? It's wrong. It's been driving me crazy all week.
But it's not just wrong and like he missed some of the words. He like fully misses the point of the whole thing.
Right. And also,
this is also like a climactic moment.
It's a
one of the greatest movies of all time.
And I promise you, I've been saying I love the movie. You cannot be tough quoting this fucking movie. Can we just play?
You've never tumbled down a hill saying "as you wish" to someone.
It's like the hardest part of this movie is "to the pain," and he didn't quote that part, and it's still not that tough. Can we just play the correct? Can we play the correct clip? Inigo Montoya. I can't believe that this is where we're at on the Vergecast. This is the
all
killed my father,
to
prepare to die moment of The Princess Bride. Please play the clip.
Offer me money.
Yes.
Power to promise me that.
All that I have and more. Please.
Offer me everything I ask for. Anything you want.
You will note he doesn't say, I don't care.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
He says something very different.
I will say, if Elon Musk in that moment had said, I want my Twitter back, you son of a bitch, it would have been the greatest moment in television history.
It's just, your brain has to be a particular kind of Swiss cheese to be like, why do you tweet to the detriment of your shareholders? And then you misquote that scene, which is about vengeance for his murdered father. And you're like, this is why I say whatever the hell I want. And then he does the voice.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, I can't formulate a version of this that those two things are connected.
As a young fedora boy myself, you cannot be tough quoting The Princess Bride. There is not a context in the world in which quoting The Princess Bride is a tough thing to do. And I don't
know, the I am not left-handed thing continues to be a rad move that I pull on many people. When I'm typing, I type kind of bad, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not left-handed.
It's just a movie designed to make 8-year-old boys think they're tough. It is written, it has a number of scenes that are exactly that. Mm-hmm. I'm not left-handed. Again, not a tough thing to say. All right. That's enough, Elon.
Yeah.
Now we get a hard shift into the Supreme Court.
Which is super weird, but in a different way.
They also quote The Princess Bride quite often. This is when you go to the Supreme Court, they're like, you have to watch this movie to understand. I really did watch. Can I tell you a story from my youth? My father had a conversion van, an 80s conversion van.
Amazing.
And he brought it home, and he was very proud of this. He had a TV VCR combo in the back. And then we would drive this thing in New Jersey 5 times a year. It felt like 5 times a year. And my sister and I watched The Princess Bride in the back of this conversion van 10 million times.
It's just the only movie in there.
And if you could just rewind yourself, if I could just go back in time and tell that young boy, one day you will insult the richest man on earth with the knowledge you are gaining in this van, it would be good. All right.
Your parents are so proud, I'm sure.
My mom's like, cool it with the swear words. All right, let's talk about the Supreme Court. Actually, today, breaking news. I don't think we were expecting this case to come down. Addie, the last time you were on the show, we were talking about 2 big cases around Section 230 that hit the Supreme Court. Google versus Gonzalez. Is that the right caption? Or is
Gonzalez versus Google and Twitter versus Tammany.
Gonzalez versus Google and Twitter versus Tammany. They were both related to terrorism, but underlying them was, are these platforms liable for what is being published on them through this route of the anti-terrorism statute? And the Supreme Court today said, why are you here, from what I gather?
It did. So it basically performed a 2-step, which is that one of these cases is about Section 230 and one of them is not. The question in Twitter versus Tammany is a platform aiding and abetting terrorism if it, in Twitter's case, fails to remove content that is posted by terrorists, or if it maybe recommends something, which is what YouTube did. And so that's this question. And then Gonzalez versus Google says, well, if you assume that maybe it would be aiding and abetting, then does Section 230 protect it from the site from liability? Or if it's doing something like recommending content, is it actually producing that? Does it become the speaker of it? And so what the Supreme Court decided was, look, the facts in this case involving Twitter and also involving Google, you can't say this rises to the level of aiding and abetting. They were just providing the same service they provide to billions of other people.
Yeah.
And so this is just a ridiculous attenuation of this doctrine. We can't say that they are liable. And so because of that, we don't have to touch Section 230.
And the person who wrote this opinion is Clarence Thomas,
who wants to touch Section 230 so bad.
What a phrase.
Well, so there was not actually there was nobody who signed the Gonzalez decision, which was the we won't touch 230 decision. And then, yes, Clarence Thomas, the guy who was constantly like, we need to regulate what platforms say, wrote an entire long opinion about, first of all, the fact that, yeah, we should not say that this is illegal. They are not liable for this just because it doesn't rise to the level of aiding and abetting. And then there's also an interesting section that kind of gets to the heart of the recommendation question, where he decides that the problem for the people who are trying to sue these companies is that they can maybe point to content getting recommended, but the recommendation of the content itself is not supposed to promote terrorism. Twitter doesn't have like a, hey, feed this person terrorism button.
Right.
It has a thing that just recommends stuff you like. And from that point onward, it's this, as he describes it, kind of passive entity that just, it hits a button, the button runs, the button churns out content, and maybe that content is terrorism related.
So this is like a long road for him where he says over and over and again in this opinion, this is passive. They're not screening it. It's just happening because there's another set of cases that are coming. The Florida and Texas content moderation cases where I think the Thomas wing of the court wants to mess with Section 230 by saying these are like utilities and the government should be able to regulate what happens on that.
I am curious if that's what's going to happen, in part because these cases are pretty strongly, the Texas and Florida cases, described as First Amendment decisions, not Section 230 decisions. That the issue is whether companies have the right to say what goes on their site and whether it's compelled speech to make them put hate speech on there. And so, yeah, it's a really good question how that's going to intersect with 230, because in theory, 230 doesn't even necessarily come into this at all.
But 230 didn't come into this case. See, this is the line.
Yeah.
I just like read Clarence Thomas's name on this opinion and then read this opinion, which people like sort of across the spectrum. People are like, they got to the right answer.
Yeah.
This is, and then you read it and he keeps talking about how these are passive services and they're not exercising any discretion and it's all just happening on the internet. And you can just see the next jump is, and thus the state of Texas should be able to insist that you don't moderate against stuff.
Yeah, except that there is a parenthetical where he says he does specifically point out sometimes they remove it.
Yeah.
Which I think it is, yeah, it's an offhand remark, but it is one that he included and is like, well, yeah, Twitter isn't promoting terrorism. If it's doing anything, it's taking some of it down. And he doesn't cite that as being a thing that strikes against the case.
Yeah.
Well, and am I wrong for thinking even that just taking sort of that stuff you're describing, like the hosting of that content and calling it passive and saying this is not them having an active role in it, that's not nothing, right? Like it's not to the heart of the Section 230 debate, but I feel like so much of this is so new that even having the Supreme Court say like, no, just so you know, having something on your website is not illegal, like still means something at this moment in time.
And not just that, but producing something like a recommendation, which is not just this thing sits on your servers.
True, yeah.
The thing I've seen a lot of people question is whether this means that AI statutes, like whether you can't regulate something an AI produces because the AI isn't meant to, I don't know, be racist.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty open question.
I think that this case opens a bunch of AI questions. There's another case about Andy Warhol drawing on a photo. The Supreme Court ruled against the Warhol estate today, which is a big copyright decision that has further implications for AI.
Yes. It ruled about, it was, so the Warhol decision is, I think we've talked about it before, it's about whether the estate could take this photograph from this photographer of Prince and then paint over it and make a sort of trademark Andy Warhol silkscreen print. And then whether you can claim fair use based on this one particular, it's a four-part defense of fair use, and whether the fact that it is a commercial work, to what extent that should count against the Warhol estate.
Because they were selling it.
Right. And the sort of example that they were pointing to in the decision is the fact that, say, when Prince died, there were a bunch of magazine covers, and one of the magazine covers used Warhol's print in a way that did not have to credit or pay the underlying photographer. And so since one of the standards of fair use is, does this replace the original thing? This was their way of saying, well, clearly it does, because if you want a picture of Prince, then you're going to use this picture of Prince instead of this other picture of Prince. And the fact that one of them transforms it, like what that picture of Prince means, is not material to this really particular part of fair use.
So what comes up for me with this is every fair use decision is supposed to be case by case. So one shouldn't affect the other, the next one down the line. This means nothing in practice. like fair use decisions like this happen, and then there's a massive knock-on effect in the world of culture. Famously, there was like the blurred lines case that went too far, and then just recently there's the Ed Sheeran case. Again, Marvin Gaye's estate is suing in both cases.
Right.
Okay, well, technically, it was the other way around in the original Blurred Lines case. It was Robin Thicke suing Gaye's
For a
estate.
declared,
For,
because they'd asked for money first.
yes.
So it's like a circle where Marvin Gaye's estate is like, we just want money. Right? Marvin Gaye, dead.
Andy Warhol also
Yeah.
dead in this, but that's
Dead people are haunting
Very
us with
litigious.
copyright law. Anyhow, the Blurred Lines case, it went too far. Marvin Gaye's estate got paid. Same estate sues Ed Sheeran. They lose, and it like gets recalibrated back a little bit. So you see this pendulum is constantly swinging. That's normally fine. There's some weirdness there, whatever. You add generative AI to the mix of all of this, and the Supreme Court saying, hey, if you take this stuff and you copy it and you make a new thing based on it and it replaces the existing thing, that's bad and you can't do that. And it's like, oh, that's all of ChatGPT.
That's about to be everything.
and particularly if you sell the thing.
Yeah. And that's all of Midjourney. Like, there's somewhere on the fan fiction forums of the internet, a great cheer was raised when the Supreme Court handed off this Andy Warhol decision, because that is, as Addie has been saying to me, that is like a culture war that is brewing in the artistic community right now.
Yeah, which is then particularly weird when you mentioned fan fiction, because fan fiction, there has been this ongoing question of whether or not you can sell things against it and whether you can monetize it. And this is, I don't know, I have not spoken to people like the Organization of Transformative Works over this particular case yet, but this is maybe bad for that too. There's this common misconception that fair use only works for non-commercial things, and I've been telling people, no, this is a misconception. You definitely can sell things that are fair use. And this seems like it is sort of making that less true.
Yeah, you can absolutely sell things there. Our entire website is a collection of fair use that we operate commercially. Like, we're like, here's some news someone made, and then we like write about it. That's just like inside of fair use, and then we sell ads against it. And like, I don't know, our other magazines sell subscription, like commercial fair use is a real thing. It just gets me because I think the AI thing is making everyone like copyright maximalists is the word you would use. And it's like, oh, this is the internet where everyone is remixing everything all the time. And so to cut against your own interests here, because you're mad at AI, like kind of shuts down everything you're doing. Like, do you want fan fiction to exist? Yes or no? Do you want it to exist only if Disney says it can exist? Yes or no? Do you want it to exist if you pay Disney the right to write fan? Like, you just keep walking up the hill in decisions like, I don't know. I don't know if the Warhol decision is the right decision.
But it does seem like, I mean, this just makes me think about like the writer's strike in Hollywood right now, right? And what they're betting essentially is that like the AI is going to get good enough very quickly that a lot of people are going to decide that it's worth just looping humans out entirely for commercial purposes. And now, like you said, you're one step past normal copyright stuff that we've talked about for many years. This is like fair use on top of fair use on top of fair use. And when does it fall apart? And it just feels like everybody I talk to is like, yeah, sure, there's other complicated stuff going on, but if we don't fight against AI right now, it's all going to be moot because it will have just like railroaded everyone out of their jobs before we get around to resolving the third one of these cases. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it does feel like it has just set people's hair on fire in such a new way about all of these issues over the last like 8 months.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's funny because, we were expecting the Twitter and Google Supreme Court cases to be important, right? We covered them a lot. We covered them on the show. We were like in detail on them. And the Supreme Court was like, meh, like, get out of here.
I was actually wondering about that because I remember I was on parental leave when a lot of this was going down. And I remember listening to the Vergecast that you guys did with Alex, and you were talking about basically the totally disastrous showing from the Gonzalez lawyers, who basically were like, anything that exists on the internet is illegal. It's like, all right, like this isn't great. And so it became very clear that they were kind of out over their skis on that one. But it seemed like the consensus was that the Twitter case had a much more sort of relevant possibility to actually mean something and have a decision that meant something. And yet both of these kind of came out. And I'm with you. It kind of feels like both decisions just amounted to like, nah, never mind. Like, why did we take these in the first place?
I think that the Twitter decision was actually important. I think it was Blake Reed the Silicon Flatiron's tech policy expert, who was saying that Twitter versus Tamnay is kind of an example of what happens. It's like a warning for what happens if you get rid of Section 230, is that suddenly you have to litigate all of these incredibly hard, complicated single-use cases. And it is interesting that then eventually they just decided to shove everything onto that single-use case and say, look, yeah, this just doesn't apply. It turns out that you have to have some kind of real affirmative connection. But it's also, there are a billion of these cases of suing web platforms for platforming like some terrorist organization or other. And so I think this was actually a pretty relevant decision, because it's all about the fact that just having these people on your platform does not automatically mean that you are liable for violating anti-terrorist laws.
That's fair. Yeah.
But it just seems like the of the cases we got today, they waved away the 231s, which could have been a disaster for the internet, left the door open for the Texas and California moderation cases to go a bad way.
Right, because the line is going to be what is passive and what is active.
That's where I think that's where
Like how much can you do before you're doing stuff is very much the open question.
In who knows? Like I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And do I have any sense of what Amy Coney Barrett thinks about Section? I just don't. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? And then this Warhol case, very hotly anticipated. Lots and lots of scholarship, lots and lots of writing. We've done it. Addie's done it. And it's like, oh, this case might be the thing that stops generative AI in its tracks. Because now you've got a Supreme Court precedent. Now you've got a Supreme Court precedent that says if your fair use of an original work takes over the market for that work, we're going to say that's too much. And it's like, well, I don't know if you guys have used the tools.
I'm also curious, like, obviously there's this 4-part test. This is one of those 4 parts. The other issue is how much of the work you're using. And that's where I think generative AI gets really complicated, because, okay, maybe the extreme case is you use it to generate a precise picture of Prince that looks almost exactly like Prince, but isn't technically Prince. That's its own case. And that seems like, I don't know, the most nightmarish copyright like thing that might not be fair use. But I don't know, if you're just generating any image in the world using a data set that includes someone's work, at what point do you get to sue and say, because I was part of this data set, this person is stealing from me? Which is a thing that I hear lots of people who don't like generative AI say all the time. Constantly, like, these people are literally stealing from me personally because I have a picture in this data set, or because I wrote a fan fiction that got scraped.
So there's the people saying it, and then there's the big company saying it. So every publisher, News Corp is saying it. Getty is doing Stability. That's basically their argument. Just down the line, Hollywood writers are effectively saying this, right? We wrote this stuff. You're going to spit it. You're going to put it in AI. It's going to spit stuff out. So the 4 factors are the purpose and character of your use, the nature of the work, which is real fuzzy. Yeah. The amount or substantiality of the portion used, and then the last one, the effect on the market for the original one. So I'm just saying, if you can type, I want a picture of Prince into Midjourney, and it spits out something that was trained on a Getty set, and then you use that on Cover Magazine instead of licensing Getty, Getty wins under this ruling, I think.
Well,
because you've essentially replaced the market for that Getty image with your own generated image.
Yeah, but this relies on the idea that all pictures of Prince are from Getty. Like, if you have a data set that's trained on just, I don't know, a lot of people took pictures of Prince, how does Getty prove that, okay, we're the ones who created this thing that then they're drawing from? Like, that seems like it cuts to the question of, like, the amount used.
Yeah, it does. And I think Getty's answer in the Getty case is going to be like, you're generating our watermark on your pictures.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like, comically stupid stuff is going on. But I would just say this Twitter case we thought would be this lightning bolt, and this kind of, we'll see what happens. It's nothing right now. And this Warhol case, I think, is going to throw a loop into the generative AI conversation in a very serious way. Yes,
potentially.
Yeah, as always with our nation's government, who knows what will happen? Yeah.
Well, and always with copyright.
This is my dream. David's nightmare, my dream.
We're only one segment in, and we've done The Princess Bride, and we've done copyright law. This is Nilai's greatest podcast.
I got to say Fedora Boys. It's everything I've ever wanted. We did the
one
accent.
Mariah Carey reference away from this being.
Last thing with Addie here. This is another thing that when we were walking in, David challenged me to put a percentage on how much this will matter. Montana passed a law last night, in the evening, like at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, it was a little earlier by their time.
Mountain time.
It's like a sunset signing ceremony. Governor Gianforte was like, I hereby ban TikTok. And he said it's because it's a Chinese company. It's scraping our data. The law specifically, I think, bans TikTok from being distributed in app stores.
Yes, or I'm making scare quotes here, operated.
So if you open TikTok, you're operating it?
Well, that's the question,
That's
right?
a real question. So opening the app or making the app available is explicitly operating. One thing we don't know about is whether the web interface is operating.
Okay.
Like if you visit TikTok.com, and we should be clear, users, no one's getting sued over this. It does not apply to users. But if you visit TikTok.com from inside Montana, is that TikTok operating in Montana and therefore TikTok's going to get punished for that? I'm a little nebulous on that.
Yeah. And I don't think TikTok knows. I don't think Apple or Google knows. I don't think the governor of Montana knows. But he signed this bill saying TikTok can no longer operate in the state of Montana. It does not go into effect until
January 2024.
So you got 6 months or so, a little over 6 months. What happened? There's immediately going to be lawsuits, right?
I'm actually wondering about that because there is one other possibility there are two other cases in which this law never comes into effect and we never see it. The first is that Congress passes a law that's nationwide that bans TikTok or does something similar. So
something
if Congress,
like the Restrict Act.
Yes. So if Congress passes the Restrict Act, then they're just like, yeah, never mind. TikTok's banned. We don't care. We don't care about our state's law. And so then they never have to deal with it. And then the other option is that if TikTok gets sold to a company or spun off somewhere that is not run by or in China, then this law also goes off the books. And so I think those are two possibilities. And I'm wondering if those possibilities are going to be strong enough that people decide they don't want to sue. That seems like maybe an option, but I think that would be a pretty big bet. And so, yeah, there are almost certainly going to be lawsuits. The people I would expect, it's possible TikTok would file one. It's also very plausible that a group of users would do that. That is actually how the WeChat lawsuit went to court after Trump tried to ban it, was that all of these users got together and said, this is infringing on our free speech rights. And so then a judge actually provisionally sort of agreed with them. And so it's possible we'll see, I don't know, the ACLU file a suit that
They're going to collect a bunch of TikTokers.
Yeah, collects TikTok users and says this is infringing on our rights. NetChoice is the other company, or not. NetChoice is the other organization. It's a trade group that ends up filing a lot of lawsuits against state cases, state laws, and so it's possible they will also do something.
I just can't imagine why they wouldn't, because on the one hand, I mean, it really seems to me like every single action happening right now is designed to force a sale. Because there's just either a bunch of technology exists to geofence the App Store in a way that I don't understand, or what Montana is proposing is to essentially punish Apple for TikTok existing, which seems like a mess. Because what you're saying is like if you're going to have TikTok in your App Store or let people who have iPhones or in Google's case Android phones use TikTok, we're going to penalize you. That's a real weird move, especially when Google and Apple have like pretty big levers they can pull to make users in Montana very mad at the government who's doing this. So if you play this all the way out, it doesn't make sense to me how this works. And there's been no real communication from the state of Montana how any of this is going to work. So I have to imagine everybody is just
the governor's brother has a company called Big Buck.
Yeah, right.
He's just hoping that TikTok is like, fine, we're merging with Big Buck.
Yeah.
And like, now the governor owns TikTok.
Basically, yeah. They're like, it's a big, political win in a moment where everyone is worried about China and there's a lot of feelings about TikTok and everybody likes to talk about, half of Americans support a ban on TikTok. And you just get to keep trying to push this thing down the road of let's sell TikTok. And then everybody who is part of this gets to take yet another victory lap. But in the meantime, like that's a big thing to do. It's going to take a long time to do. January 2024 is not that far away. And it seems, I don't know. When I asked Neil this, I was like, what do you think? There's like a 5% chance that this happens. And his response was basically like, well, everything is pure chaos. So who knows?
50-50.
And that's fair. And so if I'm someone interested in making sure that TikTok continues to exist in the state of Montana and everywhere, why wouldn't you just immediately start yelling loudly to any judge who will listen about free speech?
I feel so. The pessimistic take is that everyone has this kind of "it can't happen here" feeling where they believe that something is too outlandish to actually come to pass until it's already there. And so everyone's like, yeah, somebody else will stop it. This is so ridiculous. No one would ever want this to happen.
That's fair.
And then comes January and it's happened.
Is it also possible that it's a tough look to be on the side of TikTok right now?
I think that TikTok, if you're siding with it, you are not only siding with China, I am putting scare quotes around everything, you are also siding with big tech.
Right.
And so, I think that there's also, it's possible no one wants to take the reputational hit.
There's a handful of younger Democratic Congress people. McKenna talked to them during the TikTok hearings, right? It's a tiny pocket of people who are like, this seems like a government overreach.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to have any power in the situation. They have very low risk.
The other thing I've heard is that it's all chilling effects, that the goal isn't even necessarily to say we will literally crack down on TikTok for being in Montana. It's just to try to make Apple and Google drop it by making it toxic. That you're never going to have to actually sue them. You're never going to have to technically punish them. You're just going to get them to kick TikTok off. And then it's, going to be pretty debilitated there.
So this is really interesting because Apple and Google don't have this ability right now. They can block apps by country, but they have never built the infrastructure to say, we know you're in Montana, and so we're going to block this app from being downloaded in Montana.
I think the goal is that they would just kick them off in general.
So you think the governor of Montana is like, I will ban TikTok in the United States of America because Apple can't figure out how to not allow
It's like the flip side of the right to repair laws, where it's like once one state passes it,
exactly.
everybody has to follow along because they don't want to make
but usually those states are like California and New York.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's Montana's turn.
Yeah.
It's big bucks time. I'm just saying, if you're TikTok, you're looking at the raw population of Montana, and you're like, well,
I think the counter argument would be that a bunch of states are trying to consider this, and Montana has just said we're the ones who pull the trigger first. And so if you're looking, look, I'm not going to put anything past California at this point in terms of making weird tech laws. But if you have a bunch of states that are saying we just want to try to ban TikTok, then there's all of this pressure on Apple and Google to just kick it out. And then you don't have to worry about all of the incredibly wonky geofencing stuff because it's just gone and you have to go to www.tiktok.com or sideload it.
On your extremely powerful mobile web browser that Apple certainly loves you using. That's actually another really interesting piece of the puzzle, right? What does it mean to operate in the state? Do the ISPs of Montana have to block?
No, this was part of the bill
servers
earlier.
Oh,
it was part of an original draft that ISPs had the same punishments that app stores have, and then that got cut by the bill. Maybe because everyone's like, this is a little too great firewall, just a tiny bit.
And so now TikTok just has to proactively block itself from being served in Montana?
Yes.
Amazing. Super great. I love this bill. I'm saying 50-50. If I'm TikTok, I'm suing. If I'm Apple and I'm Google, I am thinking about the Net Choices of the world filing a lawsuit on my behalf saying this is a weird restraint on trade. You gin up some complaint about that sort of idea.
The other wrinkle with Montana is that the Restrict Act and some other places make this kind of pretense of, it's a TikTok punishment, but actually it's just any company that's a threat to us. Montana's like, no, TikTok. You, TikTok here, which raises really specific issues legally because you are not supposed to make a law that is just essentially trying to replicate punishing one company.
I'd like to ban Neeli from the state of Montana.
Do you think I'm not? I encourage you to look at the books, good sir. It was a great weekend.
Oh, and we should note that they also expanded their government device ban to include Telegram, Temu, and some other WeChat.
We watched the app for Temu. It's the shopping app for billionaires.
You get to shop like a billionaire.
Boy, you should ban that app. That ad was too sexy. That's all I got to say. Too many people whispering about you feeling like a billionaire. Weird. It was like the Spice Girls did an e-commerce ad. I don't know how to describe it. David, you talked to Hank Green, notable Montana creator and TikToker, about this ban.
Yeah, he was kind of nonplussed. When we throw to break, when we go to break, we should play a few minutes of my chat with him because he was really interesting. But he was saying basically that he's in a good position because he's somebody who has a big audience on lots of different platforms, that the real people who would be hurt and affected by this are smaller creators who have really bet on TikTok in a big way. He also posited that what will happen is people will just like drive to Idaho and get TikTok and then come back. It'll be like going to the grocery store. You just like go out, download your TikToks and come back. And he was kind of the mind that like, how on earth would you possibly enforce this? And is this actually going to turn into anything? But the point that he made that I thought was really interesting was to your Big Bok point. There's this idea right now that you can just like rip and replace TikTok, that if we just boot TikTok out of America, we have YouTube Shorts and we have Instagram Reels.
We can't do rip and replace either. We should do.
Yeah, we also can't rip and replace. We tried that with Huawei and that hasn't worked either. But if you just kick it out, that something will replace it, everybody will have somewhere else to go. It'll be an American-owned company, you know, everybody wins. And that's just not how it works. Like TikTok has this very specific culture with different kinds of users doing different things and seeing different things and having different kinds of experiences than anywhere else. And even if you just suddenly were like, TikTok is dead, long live Big Bok, it doesn't work like that. And like our options are either have TikTok or don't have TikTok, right? Like there is no third option.
Well, so this is playing out in two ways right now that I think are really interesting. One, directly related to TikTok. We were at Google I/O, saw a bunch of Google people, and I said, where's the culture of YouTube Shorts?
Totally.
Like, I understand what the culture of TikTok is to some extent because Instagram had such a strong culture unto itself. Even Instagram Reels has a vibe to it. It's a very low rent vibe.
But it's kind of lifestyle-y.
It is the thing that it is. It's just a desperate craven vibe.
Yes.
It's Instagram.
It says, buy
Reels.
this shampoo, please.
Yeah. And then YouTube Shorts is just like shoveling in boots of anything that was successful on the other platforms. And it's like, it doesn't have an identity. And it's the thing that should win. It's the thing that makes the most sense. And they haven't figured it out yet. And they were kind of like, yeah, we haven't figured it out yet. And then the other one that's really interesting is Blue Sky, right? Which is as much of a clone of Twitter as you can get. And there's a lot of parts that we talked about this at length. There's a lot of parts of it that are just Twitter again. And then you see there's a whole new culture emerging on that platform. And maybe it will survive and maybe it will fail. Who knows what will happen? But it's not just, it's Twitter again.
Right.
Like very actively, people are like, we don't want to do this again. So if you get rid of TikTok, yeah, maybe everyone will go to YouTube Shorts, but it will never be the thing again. And some people will just quit and some people will choose to use it differently. And I agree that particular piece of the puzzle, it's like once you have a big, vibrant network, it either lives or it dies. Those are the only two choices.
You can't port it somewhere else.
It is bizarre that people are saying that, given that I thought that network effects was just the thing that everyone talked about, how that was all that mattered online for years.
No, the internet is just, no one understands it. It's a series of tubes.
And vertical videos.
Vertical videos. All right, we should take we should talk about Sam Altman. Okay. One more thing to talk about really quickly with Addie. Sam Altman was in front of Congress this week. They seem to love him. Boy Genius really wooed the members of Congress this week.
Yeah, they asked if he wanted to run a regulatory agency.
Like, will you be in charge? And his answer, from what I gather, was yes.
His answer, he said, I love my job, my current job.
No, who
it's
doesn't?
Okay.
That's what you say right before you quit your job.
Yeah, it was, I think James Vincent, who has a piece going up on this, called it chummy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was the sort of anti-Zuckerberg.
So they want to regulate AI. They don't have the weird First Amendment problems they did with, like,
We don't know that yet.
Government famously failed to regulate social media. They famously failed to pass even privacy laws in this country. I think one of the reasons they failed to regulate social media is they just couldn't figure out the First Amendment. They're like, boy, this thing's, and at some point, both Trump and Biden were like, yeah, we should just do some speech regulations. Mm-hmm. Like,
yes,
on both sides of the aisle, they're like, man, this First Amendment's really pesky. We'd like to tell Zuckerberg what to do. And they couldn't figure it out, which I think is on the whole good. On the AI side, they're like, this is a threat to humanity. We know what to do here. We're going to do export regulations. We're going to ban the chips from going to China, like the whole list. And Sam Altman was like, I appreciate all of your ideas. I'm proposing an agency called OASIS, which is like Office of Artificial Intelligence. Yes.
It's very good. I love a good fake acronym.
It's very good. It is very sci-fi.
It's Ready Player One.
It's Ready Player One.
Yeah. Yep.
It's very good. But there was this notion that like this should definitely be regulated. Like I'm building a technology that I am not comfortable with. It should be regulated. Sundar Pichai, it should be regulated. Obviously, Microsoft's very close with OpenAI. They feel the same way. It seems like that's coming, and they're more open to it in a way that the social media companies were always like.
I don't know. The number of times Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, like Facebook ran ad campaigns being like, dear God, please regulate us. And I think they knew that they were always going to be one step ahead. And if I'm going to be cynical about Sam Altman, he's sitting there being like, he's not saying like, please regulate us. He's like kicking back in his chair. He's being like, yeah, regulate us. What are you going to do?
The thing James pointed out is that also he was saying, yeah, we should be regulated because in the future we might do really dangerous things, in the future going forward. Yeah. And so there are all kinds of the sort of counterpoint is that there's the AI Act right now going through in the EU, and that it focuses a lot on really present day harms. There's things like surveillance or like face recognition. And that this didn't really get that much of a hearing earlier this week in the US. That a lot of it is these kind of big apocalyptic scenarios, and they're potentially skipping over the things that might happen right now before AI becomes Skynet.
Yeah. And Sam Altman, to his credit, has done, whether, honestly or as a PR move, a very smart job of loudly saying he's worried about those things too. And I think that's the part that's different about social media, right? Because Congress was sitting up there saying social media is bad, and the CEOs were like, no, social media is a universal good that connects people to each other. In this one, Sam Altman is able to sit there and say, I'm worried about all the same things that you are. Yeah. I'm not perpetuating them, but maybe someday in the future things will get bad, so let's work on it together. And he has at least like an ounce more credibility than the social media CEO.
I think the difference, though, is that social media, one of the reasons they can't say will prevent any bad use is because a lot of this is up to users. That social media is a tool used by a lot of people, and if you can't let people do what they want to some extent on social media, you don't have a product. In AI, I think that there is really... You can say, yeah, we're going to have these very circumscribed uses. We will control absolutely everything you can do with AI, us as OpenAI. We will tell you exactly what you're able to say with these tools. We will tell you exactly what pictures you can generate. There's not really the same downside there. So, of course, they can tell Congress, like, we will control exactly how this is used. And if it's something bad, we'll stop it.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, we're already seeing, like Sundar Pichai said, already they're seeing their AI used in ways they couldn't predict and didn't know about. It's like this stuff is...
But that's pretty normal.
But the point is that they can stop that, is that they can see something and they'll say, you'll do that, and then they can just shut that down. Whereas if you do that enough in social media, then it no longer really feels like a thing that you are able to meaningfully do anything with as a user.
True. Yeah, it is different in the sense that it is like the social media stuff is person to person and the platform is sort of underneath trying to solve it afterwards.
Look, there's a dial labeled horny. And if Jack Dorsey had that dial on Twitter and he turned it down too low, Twitter would die.
Satya Nadella.
The Bing team needs to turn the dial down.
It broke, man. Satya Nadella just kicked it.
It's like Max Horny. Max Horny Bing. Let's do it. That's how he talks.
All right.
We should go to break.
Wrapped it up. Addie, thank you so much. Always a delight. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Inconceivable.
We just took a 2-hour-long ad break so that we could watch The Princess Bride.
It's a good movie. I'm just saying it's for children, and you cannot be tough.
And
quoting
also,
The Princess Bride.
I will watch it tonight.
Good.
And it's gonna happen.
You're gonna see some stuff as an adult that you just missed as a child.
I'm sure that's true.
It's just very true. Anyway, we're back. Richard Lawler is here. Hey, Richard.
Hey, good to be back.
Fan favorite Richard Lawler is here.
We've heard the requests. They've been heard. Most of them were from me, but okay.
Richard just calls the hotline once a week with a new voice saying, "Where's Richard?"
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It's his AI voice.
No, I don't use AI because AI is evil, but...
There you go. See? Culture War's here. You can't replace Richard, man. The robot. All right. We got to talk about some gadgets. It was a heady conversation just now.
Yeah.
And now we're going to talk about the stupidest TV ever made. That David loves.
The next TV that I own is what you meant to say.
So get into it, man. The Telly. Talk about it.
Okay, so this thing is called Telly, which, first of all, unbelievable name. I hated it the first time I heard it. I've come all the way around. It's extremely good. It was created It's a new company created by one of the founders of Pluto TV, which is like one of the fast ad-supported streaming TVs. And its thing is basically they're going to give you the TV for free. And in exchange, they're going to have a second screen below your TV that's like a wide sort of Chiron-looking thing about the height of the TV, but just as wide, that is just for showing you ads. So you get a free television and a ad bar in your house that is just a billboard that lives in your house and shows you ads while you watch TV. There are a bunch of other weird things about this TV.
Many other weird things about this TV.
So many. But I just want to tell you my two favorites.
Okay.
It's a 55-inch 4K TV. That's good. It has no built-in streaming stuff. So in addition to shipping you a TV, they will also ship you, I believe it's an Android TV dongle.
Wait.
Yeah, it's not a smart TV.
In the specs, they're like built-in streaming stick, and I thought they were just.
No, it's just built into the box.
I thought they were just trying to like meet the people where they are, you know, like
it's just a dongle that plugs in. I don't know what it is, but it is just a dongle that plugs in.
Oh, that's so good.
I bet there's something like a patent thing where like if it's in the TV, they have to pay an extra buck, and they're just trying to shave every single dollar off so that it can be free.
I suspect you're right. Yeah. And then the other thing, which we'll get to in a minute, is that it has the worst and jankiest privacy policy in the history of the known universe.
We will come to this.
But I have not looked at this television. I don't know. I'm all in on this thing. I feel
love it.
I feel like my basic thesis here is that two screens is actually an extremely good idea. I just get to have like a CNN style Chiron just showing me sports scores while
that's
I watch whatever else. Into that.
David just had a kid and he misses being at the airport and the bar. That's what I'm getting from this conversation.
This explains a lot about a lot of things.
Just show me who's yelling about politics on the bottom at all times. And then it's all ads anyway. Like watching TV now, it's full of ads. You go on YouTube, you watch ads. There's a bunch of ad news this week about how popular ads are, and ads are coming back. So I'm like, whatever, give me one more ad and you're going to give me a TV for free? Like,
I'm super stuck on the streaming stick situation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it says 4K streaming stick included, which again, I just read is like we're meeting the Walmart buyer where they are, right? No, they literally mean included.
Let me read you from Emma Roth wrote a story about this, and she said, this is the most like understated burn of all time. I love it. Unlike most mainline smart TV operating systems, Telly OS, amazing name, currently doesn't support third-party streaming apps like Netflix. Little old app like Netflix. Who needs it? That's why Telly comes bundled with a free 4K Android TV dongle that you can use to watch whatever streaming service you want.
Right, because they don't need to worry about universal search or all this stuff where they need deals because they're just running ads on the bottom of the TV.
Correct. They built, ironically, a dumb TV with ads.
Okay, well, so then here's my next question. Because it has, on the spec sheet, it's labeled future-proofed.
Yeah.
And its evidence of being future-proofed is, quote, modern hardware. That's all it says. Powerful chipset. Again, all it says.
What else do you need?
Frequent OTA updates, bringing new and better experiences like AI and smart home control. Sure. And then down at the bottom.
That's another box they ship.
Yep. Down at the bottom.
Somebody else invents that and then they'll just give it to you.
And then it has a camera.
Yep.
And a mic array. The camera is an HD camera, no specs, for video calling, fitness, and interactive gaming. Unclear where any of that runs.
It's not important. Don't worry about it. It's for that. It can't do that. But that's what it's for.
And then it says mic array with, quote, hey Telly voice control.
Oh, Lord.
So this thing is running some software.
Yes.
But just not Netflix.
Just not streaming apps.
No, not the software that you want.
That you have to make biz dev deals for.
And then it has a motion sensor for wake up and interactive gaming. They think they've built a Nintendo Wii.
And also to make sure that you are sitting there watching the ads.
That's what it is. Right. So they're like, they said, their advertisers said, we will only pay for this if we know for sure that somebody's actually sitting there watching television. And they said, oh crap, we have to put a camera in everybody's TV and a microphone to make sure that they're actually in the room. What weird features can we invent such that we can put these in there and get away with it?
So again, if you opt out of sharing your viewing and activity data, this is what it says in the privacy policy. Unfortunately, that means you will no longer have access to the services and must return the television, or you can pay $500. I am going to so immediately pay the $500 just to have this weird TV in my house.
I get a 2-screen TV for $500.
Someone's going to hack it.
Sold.
It's going to be cool. And they're going to put like Subway information on it, stock tickers without their services. And then they'll get sued.
I'm thinking like ultra widescreen gaming on the bottom.
But if this TV costs $500 and it has 2 screens and a soundbar and do you know how shit this panel has to be?
You get 2 LEDs.
Yeah.
On and off.
Yeah, exactly. It
says here
backlight.
It says here you can
one
watch
backlight. It says watch anything.
It says watch anything.
All right. I'm in love with this. I love the audacity. I love a new product. If you are an old head like me, you remember this thing called the Q Cat from a long time ago. This is like an old internet controversy. Richard's nodding his head. Richard was on Slashdot in the Q Cat days with me. They handed out like barcode scanners to people, and you were supposed to like barcode scan print magazines, and then it would like take you to I don't know what they were supposed to do. And people immediately hacked these barcode scanners.
David, where were you in 1999 when this was going down?
I mean, this was like a big deal that people were hacking the barcode scanners. They were handing out for free.
This was all over the New York Times and Wall Street Journal. This was the story of the 2000s.
Wow.
And then people, it was the story of the 2000s. Like,
well, other than a few other things.
Yeah. It was like the Q Cat and then like Bush v. Gore. You know, it was like somewhere in there, a talented young artist named Britney Spears released her first single, but overshadowed by the Q Cat. Anyhow, people started hacking it and not using their like weird DRM software, and the company freaked out and started suing everybody.
Oh wow!
And I don't know, Richard. I saw this thing. And I saw that screen on the bottom, and I was like, "Oh, this is a massive QCat situation. People are going to take this. They're not going to pay for it. They're never going to sign up for the services. They are immediately going to hack it because it's running some janky version of Android, like the most hackable thing that's ever been created. And they're going to be like, I got myself a free 2-screen TV, and this company is going to lose their mind.
Yes,
there is no chance this succeeds.
No, they're going to be in business for like 15 minutes, but that's long enough for me to sign up to get one of these televisions, and that's all I require.
All right, we got to talk about the privacy policy.
Okay,
go ahead.
It's so cute.
This is your TV. As far as I'm convinced, you're the CEO of this company.
Credit to Shoshana Wadinsky for being the first one to find this. In Telly's privacy policy, I believe it's not there anymore, but it was briefly. One of the things it talks about is the personal data of children, right? It's obviously super regulated what you can do with the personal data of children. And if you have a large television in your home, odds are if there's also a child under 13, they're going to see it. So they have to have a rule about this. So they go through all this stuff. If you're under 13, you can't have an account. You shouldn't have personal data. We're not collecting personal data. And then it says, if we learn we have collected personal data from a child under 13 years of age, we will delete that information as quickly as possible. And then a parenthetical that I am quite confident was not meant to be in the published version and is clearly written by a lawyer says, parentheses, I don't know that this is accurate. Do we have to say we will delete the information, or is there another way around this? End parentheses. It's like literally the most saying the quiet part loud that has ever happened in the history of the world.
It's good. The company wrote to us. We have a long statement from Dallas Lawrence, Telly's chief strategy officer. He says it's all out of context.
It's literally, it's right. The context is right there.
It could not be more in
It's
context.
the privacy policy.
They published an early version of the policy. The TV is only meant to be used by people who are over 18. Which natural for a television.
Which they prove with the camera that watches you all the time.
They've changed it. I'm just saying this thing. Just read up on the QCat. Like I'm just like, if you want to know what's going to happen with the telly, it's the thing that happened with the QCat. This company has an entire business model based on tracking and advertising, but they've built a piece of hardware that they have no shot at locking down.
Richard, are you going to buy one of these? And by buy, I mean allow yourself to be given one for free.
No, I don't know if you can see here. I have too many TVs already. Otherwise, I would be all over.
Let's go.
I may be, on a restriction when it comes to displays.
That's for the best. But this is the business model for all TV makers now.
Vizio's been basically giving away TVs for years. That's their TV business makes no money. The business that sells subscriptions and advertising makes money. Roku, same way.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Telly is just doing it with more screens. Like, I don't see the downside.
Well, the downside is that a $500 panel is not going to be good. When you describe full array backlighting, that doesn't mean like a flashlight.
One array.
Single array backlighting. It's fair. It's true. Every TV maker, we get this question all the time. All the time people are asking us, why can't I just buy a monitor and plug my Apple TV into it? And the answer is you can, and you can go out in the market and buy it. They're hard to find, and they cost thousands upon thousands of dollars because the architecture of subsidizing the TV is not included. Like every time you sign up for an app on Roku, Roku gets a piece, just like on your phone. Every ad that's delivered on a Roku gets a piece.
Yep.
That's remember when Peacock came out and it wasn't on Roku's? They were arguing over ad serving. Great. This thing is like, that seems hard. Another display. Just a whole ass other display for our ads to run.
I remember when Vizio was going to go public, they were going to have an IPO, and they released this document, obviously, for investors about their business and all their opportunities. And they mentioned this little section in there about this company called Inscape. That was their big plan to make a ton of money. And I read it, and I was like, wait, I've been reporting on Vizio for years, and I've never heard of this thing. And that's because they had never talked about it, really. And and after that, they got sued because everyone found out what they were doing with their data.
Yeah, so they've backed off of that. That was years ago. They since have gone public, but every TV on the market today can do ACR, automatic content recognition, and tell people what you're watching. It's just a thing. You can go turn off. I have it turned off on my TV. I don't even let my TVs connect to Wi-Fi. Do you know how you can get a monitor? You buy a smart TV, you never let it connect to Wi-Fi.
That's what I did. I went into the Eero settings and it was like, do you want to let this TCL thing connect to the internet? It's like, nope.
Yep.
So now I have
my LG
America's dumbest smart TV. Oh yeah.
It hates it.
Yeah.
It's
TV
like,
makers hate this one weird trick.
Let me connect to the internet. Anyhow, I can't wait for you to get this TV.
I'm so excited.
And I can't wait for the people on Reddit to figure out how to hack this bottom display.
Oh yeah.
I think it's legal for me to say that. I'm just saying, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm not saying I'm doing it.
You're just saying
I've never used a computer in my life. I'm just saying I anticipate the day that someone might do it.
It is literally inevitable. It's just going to happen.
Inconceivable. Talk about these Echo Buds. And the Beats Studio Bud, big week for headphones. Chris Welch has been on a roll here.
Yeah. Richard, what do you make of these Echo Buds? So Amazon, as it is wont to do, came out with a bunch of new stuff. New Echo Pop, little colorful looking smart speaker that looks kind of like they took an Echo Dot and just like chopped it in half. And then the Echo Buds, super cheap, like prototypey looking things with no design or interesting features whatsoever, but they're like $40 wireless headphones, so I can't be that mad at them. I don't know. What do you make of all this?
They should have just called these the Amazon Basics Buds.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Because then we all would have understood how to take this. You can put Alexa in it, you can do whatever, but you put Echo on it, and then you say it's $50, and you showed me these that have no branding. If you saw them sitting on a table, you would have no idea what buds they were. You would understand that, yes, these are earbuds in the most generic sense. And I'm sure they're probably fine. Amazon Basics.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in cheap ones like this because I think we're entering a point where, like, if you want to spend $150 or more, you're like absolutely spoiled for choice when it comes to wireless earbuds. There's so many good ones out there. The AirPods are good. The new Beats ones are great. Like Sony makes good ones. JBL makes, like, there's tons of good ones out there. But the low end stuff, and most of the people I know who don't want to spend that much money on headphones, but then they're like, I literally can't find earpods anymore. So like, what do I buy? I'm stuck buying wireless headphones. So I'm like psyched that these exist, but you couldn't design these less than they are currently designed. This is, if you just imagine, close your eyes, don't close your eyes if you're driving, but pull over and then close your eyes and imagine the most boring, nondescript wireless headphones you've ever seen in your life. And the Echo Buds are like 40% more boring than that. It's really kind of incredible. It reminds me of do you remember the first Chromebook, the CR48?
Yeah.
Where Google was like, we made this black rectangle that is not at all interesting, and we don't know what to do with it, so we're just going to ship it and call it our first Chromebook.
It was good.
This is that again.
I appreciate it. It's
something.
Amazon's going to give them to you for free if you sign up for Prime.
Yeah, they'll just come in every box you buy from now on.
But the Beats Studio Buds Plus look amazing.
They do look amazing. Richard, are you a headphone guy in general?
Not so much, but I do have the Beats Studio Buds. Love them.
Okay.
I think that they are Apple's secret plan to get data from Android users. Because Android, I know a lot of people who use Android, and I know myself, this is probably the Apple product I most quickly and most eagerly bought, and then I bought these new Beats Studio Buds Plus too.
Yeah, so the deal with the Plus, right, is basically they have this like amazing looking translucent design. They look great. Like the pictures Chris Welch took with his review are beautiful, and the headphones look fantastic. But otherwise, it's just like it's the Studio Buds, but like everything is slightly better now, right?
Yep, a slightly better processor, slightly better case with a little bit bigger battery, better active noise cancellation, better, listening to you, all of those things. But it's still the same.
Okay. And how do they fit? The one thing that has always worried me, and I've never actually used these myself, but they're very small. Like they don't have the stem that the AirPods do. They're kind of a little circle that just sort of sticks in your ear. Yeah.
One of the reasons I like these in particular, because I got the Pixel Buds around the same time with my phone, and those would always fall out of my ears, like just for no reason. These tiny never fell out of my ears. I could do anything. And they felt good. I could sit there and listen to podcasts for however long I wanted to. And I immediately went and got the Studio Buds Plus, or I will once I go pick them up.
Yeah.
They look really good. Like just for aesthetic purposes alone, I kind of want to buy one.
They also come in regular colors, but the clear model is the only way to go.
Yeah, you got to get
don't get regular colors.
You got to look at these photos. Pull over in your car. Look at Chris's photos. They're very good. He found a bunch of vintage clear gadgets. It's good.
Yeah.
I had the clear QCat. You know what I'm saying?
I'm hopeful that this translucent design thing is coming back.
Yeah.
That I would love to see all kinds of stuff like this. Like Apple, make the next iPhone this like frosted translucent thing. I'm in. Sold.
That would be amazing. The next iPhone,
right?
Like straight up, like Bondi blue translucent.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Some people haven't liked them. They don't have wireless charging. They don't have like the in-ear sensor, I think, to automatically know when you take them out of your ear or things like that. So if that's something that you absolutely cannot live without, they may not do it for you. But yeah, I'm willing to plug these in for 20 minutes once a week to charge them.
Yeah, I never wirelessly charge my AirPods.
Can we just talk about the ear detection thing for a sec? Do you guys use the ear detection? Do you turn it on?
No, I turn it off.
I think ear detection is like the single most annoying software feature that exists on any device that I own. I turn it off immediately because it's one of those things. It's like, okay, if I have two on, one of the nice things about wireless headphones is that I can take one of them off, talk to somebody or listen to something or whatever, and then put it back in. And for it to just pause and unpause and pause and repause and unpause every time I move. And then it's like if you move your head slightly too fast, it thinks you took it out.
Yeah.
And it pause. It's just awful. And to me, it's like the thing that Apple does where when you walk into your house, Apple is like, do you want me to switch devices that you're listening to? It's like, no, like just let me manage my headphones.
If I wanted to pause, I would press the button.
Literally all I have to do is tap my ear. Like it's gonna be fine. When I'm reaching up to take it out of my ear, I'll just tap
Click
on
it.
my ear with my hand that's already right there.
Yeah.
It makes me so crazy. Apple, like, try less hard. Apple, leave me
You
alone.
turn it off.
I do.
Okay.
But I do it.
You're still thinking
angrily
about it.
every time. I don't even use Apple headphones anymore. They
Yeah.
make me angry.
I have it on the Sony ones that I use, and it's still like,
Drives me nuts.
I don't like this.
Yeah, it's not good.
The Sony ones, they really believe that you should be able to put your hand to the ear cup, so you can like go into transparency mode and like talk to the flight attendant. And I'm like, every time I try to do this, I'm like, I look like a jerk.
Isn't the natural behavior you just slide the ear
Yeah.
cup back? That's like the
Not this
universal
thing where you're like-
symbol. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. No. Awful.
What are you doing?
Awful.
Nonsensical. Okay, we got to take a break, and we'll come back for the lightning round. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. You know the QCat actually looked like a cat?
I have to look this thing up now. It's like CUE cat.
Yeah,
How did I not know? Oh my god!
because
it
you
does
were
look like
you were a
cat.
baby. But like the Wikipedia page is long, and most of it is the controversy section.
This thing is horrifying. I'm gonna put a link to this in the show notes, and I don't recommend looking
Look
at
at
it
how
because
long it is.
it's the last thing you see before you die.
It's real bad. Rich and I like lived through it. Like, these were like the OG internet forum wars.
It made Time Magazine's list of the 50 worst inventions.
Yes. Yes.
pretty good.
It was one of the things that happened. Maybe not one of the best or most important, but it was definitely one of the things
Yeah.
that happened.
All right. Lightning round time.
I'm sorry. It's on Time Magazine's list of the worst inventions. Right after QCat comes subprime mortgages. That's how bad the QCat was.
It's
Oh, God.
The early 2000s were rough. It was a hard time to be alive.
Wow. Yeah.
I'll just say one day they're going to make The Big Short about the QCat.
And then Telly.
No, it'll
the
be about
sequel.
DivX.
Oh, DivX. Oh,
God.
man.
The original DivX.
All right, Richard, we cannot be relitigating Slashdot from 2002.
Let's
right
go. Let's dig through some Circuit City flyers.
I'll just give people a peek into like the Verge editorial process. We had our daily editorial meeting today, and Liz Lopato is like, the internet, Twitter's falling apart, like searches, whatever. It's all weird. Like, we're back to the basics. We're back to the old internet. And that was supposed to be like a rousing call to blog and to like build connections. And Richard's like, we're doing DivX. I'm like, QCat drama. Let's go. Like, find the Slashdot flame wars of ancient history, and we're going to do them all again on the site.
I love it.
I think Windows is a monopoly. Linux forever.
This is the year of the Linux desktop. It is.
It is truly the year of the Linux desktop. Or two-screen TVs. All right, lightning round. David.
Let's talk about ads. Can I interest you in some ads?
Just more ad stuff.
The ad guy. I really don't know how it became my brand that I believe in ads, but here we are. Weirdly large amount of ad news this week. It's the upfronts for a lot of the Hollywood studios, which is weird and awkward and complicated because the writer's strike is happening. So it's all been very messy. But one of the things that all these companies are announcing is more ads because they want to make more money, and they're realizing that subscription only streaming is not actually all that good a business, but it turns out subscription plus ads is a much better business. So Netflix announced that its ad tier already has almost 5 million users, which is actually a pretty big number for as quickly as it has come out. YouTube is bringing what it calls unskippable 30-second ads to TV, which sucks real bad. It's mostly replacing 2 15-second ads, but they just want to be more like TV. Which means
they've always
ads.
wanted to be more like TV.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's going to be more prestigious. It's only going to be for when you're watching stuff on your TV, but like they're going to be bigger, more serious, unskippable ads. And then Max, the streaming service that is coming from Warner Brothers Discovery, which is combining Discovery Plus and HBO Max, has said that it's going to have shorter ad breaks than other streamers. Don't forget, it's going to cost at least $10 a month for the quote ad light plan, which, as I have said, implies the existence of an ad heavy plan, but we will leave that alone. And I believe David Zaslav said it's going to be between 3 and 4 minutes of ads per hour, which is substantially better than like if you watch broadcast TV, it's something like 18 minutes of ads per hour. So 3 to 4 is pretty good, but that is still, for people paying $10 a month to also watch 4 minutes of ads per hour, is going to frustrate some people. So ads are coming, y'all. They are. The world is not going down with the number of ads that it has. It's only going to get worse. So just get your TV for free.
Cool
from Telly.
This is horrible. All right, mine. Speaking of costs going up, Verizon rejiggered its plans this week. They're bad. They're basically like unbundling a bunch of services. People are very upset about this and saying they're going to quit Verizon. The problem is that if you want a new iPhone or a new S24 or a new Pixel Fold when they hit, they're going to offer you subsidies to get the new plans. So new plans have less stuff. They're more expensive. This is only an entree to what I actually want to talk about.
Well, I do think it's interesting, though, because there was a minute there where the bundles coming from carriers were really good. Like I got Apple TV and Disney Plus and Peacock and all kinds of stuff free from your carrier. And I started it became a thing I started telling people about. It was like a new streaming service comes out. It's like, oh, tell your carrier, because there's a pretty good chance that there will be some deal because they're all so desperate. A, these companies need subscribers, so they're going through your carrier because you already have a bill, and so they can save up that way. And B, all these carriers are like desperately competing with each other, and so you're going to win. And now all at once that seems to be getting unwound.
Well, it was Verizon that did the most of it.
Verizon did the most, but T-Mobile started to push on some of that
T-Mobile,
stuff.
AT&T just never did anything. They're like, we've got you.
They bought HBO.
They bought HBO and then sold HBO. Like, I think their willingness to participate dramatically decreased.
That is fair.
But Verizon gave a bunch of stuff away. Now all that stuff is $10 a month extra, basically. They're like, you can pick your perks and you just add them up and you end up paying about $10 a month extra.
It's less good.
It's less good. People are very annoyed by this, especially the Disney Plus being out of the bundle, which I think a lot of people are depending on. I want to point out that there was a big conference this week. They called it the Big 5G event. It was a telecom conference. RCR Wireless wrote about it. Allison Johnson and I were looking at it. And there were multiple sessions at this industry conference about 5G where the carriers just admitted that all of their fancy plans to make more money with 5G have come to nothing. That they have not monetized 5G in any ways that they were not monetizing 4G. It was just a big lie.
We were going to do self-driving cars. We were going to have AI generation at your house and at your Walmart.
Yeah, you were supposed to be getting surgery in a self-driving car. Like, and these new Verizon plans are an incredible example of this because remember all that zero latency robot surgery Richard's talking about? All that depended on millimeter wave. It depended on this mid-band stuff. The plans now tier out the good 5G. Ugh. So you have to buy the most expensive plan to get mid-band 5G. You're just getting, on the cheaper ones, you're just getting refarmed LTE spectrum. And it's like, what was the point of all of this?
So we're just admitting failure on all of that, basically.
It was just a disaster. So Ultra, Allison wrote about this. Verizon is playing its cute little games of not including quote-unquote ultra-wideband mid-band 5G on its lower tier plan, only the slower nationwide 5G, which is just LTE plus or whatever. I love that they call mid-band ultra-wideband, first of all. It's incredible. It's perfect. But it's like, oh, this just didn't work. Like, this whole race to 5G rhetoric, all of the meetings like, the amount of just ad dollars spent.
Yep.
They built the networks. Great. The networks are indeed faster. It is very cool to see how many people can stream video out of NFL stadiums during these Taylor Swift concerts.
True.
They've increased the capacity of the networks. Richard, I don't know about you, but I have not yet received a robot surgery in the back of a self-driving car.
Not yet. Maybe next week.
You never know.
I'm just saying, no one's hacking a telly in the back of a self-driving car.
That's the Richard optimism I'm looking for right there. I like that.
Just incredible. We'll link the RCR piece in the show notes, but Allison put it in a quick post on the site. But the plans are getting more expensive, and the bundles are going away, and the incentives are going away, because at the end of the day, no matter how hard they have tried for decades, they cannot be anything more than a dumb pipe.
Right.
They've tried everything. Like, they got rid of net neutrality. They don't even have the courtesy of excusing the bundled streaming services from the data caps. That's what they were supposed to do. That was the nightmare scenario, and they won't do it because they need the money.
Right.
Ah.
Well, and I feel so vindicated by this because for so many years we just kept asking people, okay, you're going to make the network faster. That's awesome. What is that going to change other than I can download Netflix movies slightly faster than I could before?
And you can. I just took a trip. I was on a plane. It was great. Yep.
I have downloaded many a Netflix movie. Thank you for that, everybody. But
there are millions of people who have home internet from T-Mobile and stuff. It exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it changed nothing for anybody. Like, all of this new world we were supposed to enter because all of this worked.
Well, so I think Richard's saying for the home internet, like the customers who can't get good, fast internet and they've got a T-Mobile home connection, maybe they're a little bit happier.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something.
But the thing that they can't do, which is like make more money because more people are doing more things on the internet.
Right. Yep.
they just didn't figure it out because ultimately it wasn't there. I'm telling you, a 5G and crypto, two biggest hype balloons of recent memory. They're right there on top of each other. I'm not sure in the QCat. Right.
The big three. the old big three.
Let us know. What do you think is a bigger hype balloon, 5G or crypto? I'm dying to know what the readers think. All right, Richard, what's your lightning round?
Well, I don't want to bring up anything that's overhyped. Let's just talk about the Tesla robot. The last time that we saw it, the more advanced version was not walking. It was not really moving. It waved its arm. We now saw a video with some segments that were sped up to 2x speed so that, we weren't sitting there for a half hour watching it hold things and occasionally take steps. So without falling over, which is an achievement in AI.
How confident are we that this wasn't a person in a suit pretending to be a robot?
There are holes in them, so there is probably not a person in a suit, I think.
That's good. So like 6 out of 10.
Was this rendered by AI? I don't know. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, it is a video. They are moving slowly. It's weird.
Yeah, and it's like, so they show it picking up things and putting them in a box after it watches a person pick up things and put them in a box. So You could spend however much it costs for one of these for that.
Do you know that walk that people do when you like they've like done too many squats at the gym that day and they like can't quite move their legs completely? Yeah. That's how these robots walk.
Oh, I very much relate to this robot.
Yeah.
I move exactly like that.
So many squats.
This robot's yoked.
He just kind of, you see what I mean? Like, look at this guy. He's just got his knees out and he just kind of shuffles like every step might be his last.
Yeah. Look, I know we promised not to talk about Elon. I'm just going to end here. Elon promised on CNBC in the same interview that a chat GPT moment for Tesla was coming. That's what he said. That's what he said. And maybe it's the robot. Maybe it's the self-driving robotaxis that he promised again. He said that was coming any minute now. Do you know that if you buy a Tesla, the terms of service in a Tesla prevent you from using that Tesla with any other self-driving network, like any other robotaxi fleet?
Really?
He said this on the television.
Oh, wow.
And then he quoted The Princess Bride. I really just wanted to come back to the one lesson I want to offer the audience today. If you are in a situation where you need to sound tough, do not under any circumstances quote The Princess Bride.
But at the very least, quote it correctly.
Yeah.
Like use the words that they use in the movie.
And don't try to do an impression of Mandy Patinkin's accent. Do Fezzik. Do Andre the Giant.
Okay, so they just announced you can upload 2-hour videos on Twitter now if you're a Twitter Blue verified.
That means you can upload all of Princess Bride. By the way, Twitter movie piracy is very funny.
Oh, yeah.
People are just doing it left and right because they fired everybody who does compliance at Twitter. It's amazing. I watched like a little too much of the Super Mario Brothers movie on Twitter, and I was like, I feel bad. I should not be doing this.
And then you did some more of it.
We owned that copy of The Princess Bride in the van, man. I already paid my money for that movie. All right, that's it. That's the Vergecast. It was a good one. Thanks to Addie Robertson for joining us. Richard, thank you so much, man.
Of course.
All right, Wednesday show, what's happening?
A bunch of stuff. You talked to Ed Markey about AM radio in cars, about which he has, I'm told, very strong feelings.
Very strong feelings about AM radios in cars.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Zelda. I assume this is going to be like a 7 or 8 hour episode because we're going to talk about Zelda. It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited about it.
Very cool. That's on Wednesday. We'll be back next Friday. That's the show. Rock and roll.